This podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
I'm Chuck Norris, and I approve this game.
Between the time when gamers played with miniatures and chainmail and the rise of the Wizards of the Coast, there was an age of advanced role-playing undreamed of. And onto the Skygas, destined to bear the jeweled crown of TSR upon a troubled brow, it was given to teach us all how to roll for initiative.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to the Roll for Initiative podcast, volume number 3, issue 133, the Roll for Initiative holiday special, folks. I'm DM Vince, sitting alongside DM Nick.
Hi, everyone.
And DM Chad.
Yo.
We are back. This is our holiday special spectacular. There's your announcer voice for you, Chad.
Hey, I like that.
That's simply
nifty.
Fantastic.
I'd say that's just holiday spectacular.
That's right. So, Nick.
Yes.
What have you been doing?
What have I been doing? Good question. Let's see. Been doing the Game of Thrones campaign sort of thing. My friend Jeff, and that's been going really well. And
are you actually doing the Green Ronin Game of Thrones, or is it just something you kind of concocted up?
Well, it's something that he concocted. It's kind of like Game of Thrones in that way. It's very human-centric.
Okay.
So
everybody's depressed and dying and has over...
No, actually, things have gotten rather interesting now that I'm playing a knight who's kind of he's kind of a jerk. I'm playing him very arrogant. So
you're what, House of the Lamb? What's the heck name?
Well, it's not the same kind of game world. It's science kind of in the same vein as Game of Thrones, and just like it's mostly humans, some like halfling type race, but there are no elves really to speak of, or dwarves. Or if there are dwarves, they're very, very rare. But that's been going well. And let's see, last month we did Temple of Elemental Evil again for my daughter's friends, their campaign. That's going real well. So
that's always a good one.
Yes, it's been going great. So that's been pretty much it.
Okay. I just finished Dragon Age with my group, so we're done with that for now. We're moving on to Shadowrun. So
Shadowrun? Which edition?
The newest one, the 5th.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I was lobbying for 2nd edition because I have all those books, and I love 2nd edition, but everyone wanted to go with 5th edition since it's supported and it's so new, and they streamline combat, so...
Well, I just got in the mail my nice wood original D&D box set deluxe reprint.
Lucky.
Yes.
Lucky. Yeah, it's I can't look at it though. It's we wrapped it up. That has to wait till Christmas morning.
Oh, that's your Christmas present to yourself?
That is my Christmas present to myself.
Awesome.
And it's awesome because it's, the box itself is really nice. And 2, it has not just the 3 core books that came out in the original white box, but it also has all the supplements that came out, such as Blackmore.
Oh, good.
Eldritch Wizardry, all of that. So you get all of that in that box. And
that's awesome. It's
really a neat deal if you've ever wanted to try to play the old white box. It's a great way to get into it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I want to do that one time. I hope to get... It's on my Christmas list, but I don't think I'm getting it for Christmas. I'm guessing I'm going to have to wait till I get it for my birthday in March. Oh, well.
And what a fine birthday gift that will be.
Yes, it would. I could wait until then. But, yeah, I want to play that, too, just for the hell of it. Just see how it goes.
I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to spend the money for it or not. So,
well, if you take a look at if you wanted to get, say, the original white box, and you were looking at eBay, you're looking at probably over $1,000 with all the supplements in the wood grain box. Whereas this, you're looking at, I got a good deal on mine. I got mine for right about $85. They're averaging about $130, but that's still a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I think on
than
Amazon it was like about $100.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Well, I don't know. I'll have to decide.
You know you want it.
I'm more of a first edition person / BX type person. So.
Well, yeah, but just for nostalgia's sake and.
Well,
just to have it on the bookshelf.
I actually have a wood grain replica box that somebody designed for me. So.
Oh.
As a nice little favor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I guess as a thank you, he sent it to me, so I appreciate it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So anyway, let's head into some sage advice.
Okay.
Sage advice.
So we have sage advice this week. If you want to contact us, you can contact us via voicemail, 570-865-4210, the hotline. Or you can email us, rfistaff@gmail.com. You can stop by our website, rfipodcast.com, and go to contact us or email the show, email the host, whatever. And you can just fill in your information, and boom, you can send us an email. Or you can go to osrgaming.org and chat with us in the forums, because we're always there. Especially Nick.
I've been known to pop up there from time to time.
Yeah.
Hey, I pop up there now and then, too.
Yes, as more and more people get to like you, Chad, you show up more and more on the forums.
He has one fan.
Yes.
He has one fan.
I got a fan. I'm starting to win him over.
Slowly but surely.
Hey, that's how I got married.
Wore her down, huh?
Yeah.
Mine too.
I eventually won her over to my side.
Yeah, I just wore her down, just said, what are you going to do? No.
They said, you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah. Well, you got a voicemail, guys, so let me just play that for you. So, sit back and relax.
Hi, my name is Ken. I love the show, and love that it's keeping going. I was just listening to the part about you talking about 135 coming up. But I wanted to mention you've recently done reviews about the anomalous subsurface environment, which is, in fact, a very awesome product to have the level 1 first book. But what I wanted to mention is, in regards to that product, the map, there's, the main mega dungeon of the anomalous subsurface environment itself, and there's the main city. But it also outlines a lot of surrounding areas, villages and regions where there's wizards' towers and things like that, that make it open to tie in other modules to it. So, like, for example, say you wanted to, your players had diddled around, but they wanted to change the pace. You could make one of the villages, for example, the village of Hamlet or something like that. Or you could, and to use modern modules, I don't know, guys, if you heard of the module by Matthew Finch called Demon Spore. You could make that where, in the area where one of the wizards' towers are, there's one of the villages is at the bottom of a pit, and I think it insinuates that there might have been a prison there. Well, there's a Stonehill dungeon. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but there's reviews for all of them at 10footpole.org. But it's a mega dungeon where the pages are all in the one-page dungeon format. So you could, if you had something that you wanted to, you could use anomalous subsurface environment as your tent pole and tie in all kinds of other things. Like, you could even, if you wanted to, take something like Descent into the Depths of the Earth, that map, and have somewhere in the lower levels of the anomalous subsurface environment lead into that, and just take your characters in a whole different way if you thought they were getting bored with what you had in ASC itself. So that I just wanted to mention that not only is it a great product unto itself with all kinds of just really clever and unique and fresh ideas to inject life into old school D&D, but it's because of the way the map is constructed. You could do a hex crawl, you could say, even and tie in other modules into it with very little work to match it up or have it logically make sense so that you weren't breaking immersion. And so there's just another bonus to that product itself, and a couple of plugs for other products that I hope maybe you guys will consider getting to review, being Demon's 4 and Stonehell. So anyway, love the show, love you guys. I also love the Marvel Superheroes review. Would love to hear you guys, if you're going to review other old school games like that, would love to hear more of that too. Because, it's like the Top Secrets and the Call of Cthulhu's and whatnot. And Nick, one big question, how would you take some of, like, for example, the Insanity stuff of Call of Cthulhu and incorporate that into a D&D game? Because you come across some pretty horrific monsters that you could add an interesting element by throwing that little risk of going crazy to D&D characters. Is there a way to bridge the two that you've come across, or would you consider? And anyway, take care, bye.
All right, thank you. So, Nick, you want to address that?
Yeah, actually, I could address both, but let me go with the sanity thing. Actually, that's a really good question. I considered that a while ago. I was designing a Hyborian AD&D campaign at one point, kind of taking the world of Conan and porting over AD&D material into that and running a whole campaign around that. I got some ideas from some people online who've done it and kind of mishmashed some other things. And one of the things I did incorporate was sanity. And one of the things I did for that was, if I can find it, is I kind of took the idea from Call of Cthulhu for that.
Right.
And how they do it for Call of Cthulhu. If I can find my notes here.
Couldn't you just incorporate, borrow from the Ravenloft box set from 2nd edition for fear checks?
You could do that. If you have that material, which I do not have.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I do.
So I kind of like with what I knew I had.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, let me go with with what was in Call of Cthulhu, which was an offshoot of Chaosium's basic role playing rules.
Right.
So if I remember correctly, sanity is based off of a stat. Oh, let me remember. I don't remember what it was in Call of Cthulhu, what it is in Call of Cthulhu. But
take a second to look that up, because I know Chad wants to jump in.
Well, your sanity, is I mean, it's not so much based off a stat. You actually have you roll your sanity in Call of Cthulhu, and I think it's your intelligence and wisdom divided by 2, and then you multiply it by a number, if I remember correctly. That's the formula for sanity. That's your starting sanity, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong on that. But you were going to say something about anomalous subsurface environment.
Me? I think Chad was.
I thought...
Oh, you know what? Yeah. Well, actually, I would like to address that, and I'd also like to talk about the bridging of a Call of Cthulhu type sanity bending adventure into D&D. First, I'll just say that with the anomalous subsurface, it's interesting because if you wanted to do something in D&D focused around that, I think one place you could look would be the old white box supplement. What was it? Supplement 2 or Supplement 3, Blackmore. Because if I'm correct, and I haven't read a lot into anomalous subsurface, but it seems to be kind of a futuristic, kind of a Jack Vance kind of world inhabited.
It is. It's a real Gonzo thing. I got both the books.
Yeah, it has doesn't it have dinosaurs in it?
Oh yeah, lasers and dinosaurs and goblins.
You can go a couple of different routes with that. You could Blackmore was kind of an odd one because it had a lot of like super science in it,
Mm-hmm.
Expedition to Barrier Peaks, I think is was associated to Blackmore, if I'm not mistaken, and that was about a spaceship. You could really draw from Gamma World, to do something with that. So that might be my first thing to say would be look no further than perhaps Gamma World or Blackmore. Reading up on that and maybe incorporating elements of those into Anomalous Subsurface. But now, as far as the sanity bending topic, there is a way to incorporate that, I think, very elegantly into your campaign. And you don't, obviously you could go to, if you're lucky enough to have a copy of Deities and Demigods, it covers the Cthulhuoid, the Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah, I got that one too.
Is in that, and that's one way. Obvious that's kind of an obvious way you could do that. But another way you could do that is to center your campaign around creatures like the Aboleth or the Mind Flayer.
Aboleths, Mind Flayers, Sahuagin.
Exactly, and I think there you're getting into the same kind of amorphous, kind of tentacle-y theme that is so prevalent in H.P. Lovecraft's and the various surrounding writers who worked in the Cthulhu mythos. Very analogous to their work. You could easily draw elements from stuff like the Aboleth. The Aboleth, I think, is just an underused villain. They're just
I know.
They're just so weird. And,
they are very weird.
I think it'd be just really great to have them and Mind Flayers and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I actually was kicking around the idea of Mind Flayers are actually, they are minions of Cthulhu itself, but there's a lot of other things. If you're lucky enough, like you said, to have the deities and demigods with the Cthulhu mythos in there, you can incorporate that in your game. And there's so many other monsters like
the Gibbering Mouther.
Jubilix. Let's see, what are some other ones? I mean, even an owlbear is kind of creepy in many ways.
Very much so. And you could incorporate. In fact, you could take that. You could take like Aboleths, Mind Flayers, Gibbering Mouthers, Ochre Jelly, and you could put all these various elements into a game, into either a setting like the Anomalous Subsurface, or you could simply use Blackmore.
Yep.
Or you could also draw from Gamma World. You could tie all that together.
Oh yeah, you could tie all that together. You can take when I was, I'm actually now thinking when I'm really going to get back to DMing again, I'm going to do just a gonzo dungeon hex crawl thing with Anomalous Subsurface environment. And one of the adventures I'm thinking of putting in there is Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. Because I just think it fits perfectly. Oh, yeah, and I did find my notes on sanity when I was going to do my Hyborian Age one. And what I did is to reflect like sanity, it's your intelligence plus your wisdom divided by 2 multiplied by 5, and that's your sanity. And what I was doing, I'm thinking of doing is not only would you lose sanity for maybe viewing certain types of creatures, but you would also lose sanity when you cast spells.
Oh yeah. Well, what if you translated sanity into wisdom? Now so many people, charisma's always been what they call the dump stat. I always hate that, but probably a close contender seems to be wisdom. A lot of people
that's
are like,
why I use it part of the sanity points stat. It's your intelligence plus your wisdom. So it becomes even that much more important.
Wisdom, because you can have genius madmen, but if their wisdom goes below a certain number, they're more or less just insane.
Well, right. What I did is, so you have say like you had a character with a 12 intelligence and a wisdom of 16, you do all the math, he has 70 sanity points. So
okay,
what you would do is you would lose, or you can lose or gain sanity back. You can gain sanity back, but you never go past that maximum of 70 that you started with. You never get more than what you started with. One of the things I did is like I said with spells, you would lose sanity for casting them. One of the things my reasoning was because man is tapping into energies, either divine or arcane, beyond his ken. Such energies and knowledge extract a price, and the level of the spell is the number of sanity points it costs the caster. The exception is summoning monsters either from this dimension or another. In this case, sanity points are doubled on the caster. Binding spells like Spirit Rack and Exorcism also cost double as well. And I also have turning or controlling undead costs 1 point of sanity per undead creature successfully turned or controlled. So
that would work. That was one of the things I was thinking about. Not only that, but certain creatures you would lose maybe sanity for losing, but you may or may not lose sanity because your base sanity score, which is 70 for that one example I said, where your current sanity is, if you roll a percentile, if you make it above that, your base sanity score, you're okay. You're not going to lose any sanity. But if you lose, you'd lose sanity points. So you can, and that's just some of the basics I had. You can pretty much port over the whole thing from Call of Cthulhu game to that if you want. So that was one of the things I was working on. So very interesting. And
that's
I would
one
add
of the things I might do for my anomalous subsurface environment game.
I think that would tie in really nicely.
Yeah.
And you know, he had also mentioned, the caller had also mentioned, wanting to see more of the old school, other types of games. I was just going to say, a little promotion here, but the Dead Game Society podcast, which is coming out, we already have a couple episodes done. We are now also part of the Wild Games Productions, and that's all we're going to be talking about are those games that are out of print now, and editions no longer supported, such as Top Secret, Gamma World, Marvel Superheroes. So exactly. So if that's what you're wanting to hear about, I would highly recommend checking out the Wild Games' newest addition to its stable of podcasts, which we should have the first podcast up here within the month.
Cool.
I think we were shooting for January, around there.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I guess I shouldn't say within the month, but I should say, I would look for it in January.
Yeah, the website built up and your feed going so that everyone can listen to a bunch of wonderful episodes.
Yeah, so that was good calling though. I like
great.
what he was. I like what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. All right, so let me jump right into the emails we have here. Reach down in the email bag here and cheap sound effects we have here.
Cue crinkling paper.
Yeah, right. This one comes from Ed, and he's just started listening to the show, so this is going to reference issue number 24 when we talked about gold for XP, Nick.
Ooh, let's go back in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah. Hi, so I'm a new fan, and I've been listening every day at work and made it to issue number 24, and this is how I run things. Gold for XP is acquired by completing a task or a challenge, such as unlocking a chest, scaling a cliff, or swimming to the bottom of an underground pool. I would award for this because there's a challenge and a risk of PF, I'm assuming saying player, injury, or death. A gold piece can be found on the street, and I would not award for as there was no effort used to pick it up. Well, no effort used. Simple and satisfies both mindsets, Ed. Yeah, I guess you could do it that way. Yeah, that works good. You're right. Gold piece on the street really not counted as an XP award.
I don't use XP for gold anyway, so.
I do, because it evens out everything. But you know,
I give XP not so much for gold, but I do. By the way, I wanted to say I think his idea is interesting. I like his logic. You know, he gives it out when there's something you did that warrants getting the XP. It's similar to how I do it, although I really, if you're a thief and you successfully open or disarm a trap or open a lock, even if there was no gold in there, you would get more or less essentially the same amount of XP as you would if there was a lot of gold in there. But I do see his logic of saying, you know, if you found a gold piece lying on the street and you picked it up, you know, that's pretty much a no-brainer. And, you know, unless you've fallen and can't get up, that's you know, there's no reason to award XP for that. But if you've done something within your class that, you know, is successful, then sure, I'd give XP. I don't know if I would give XP, you know, as they list it, you know, gold piece per XP, or
I don't.
How much XP you get for owning a magic item. I might give you that much XP for doing something, as he was saying, successful within your class to get that magic item. But if you lost the magic item, I wouldn't take the XP away from you. I don't associate the XP to the item. I think I'm following his logic when I say I associate it to the action that got you the item.
Well, why not just? Well, see, that's I don't know. Though the XP for gold thing never made any sense to me. It just doesn't.
Yeah, but think of it this way: it's along the same lines, at least as I translate it, to getting XP for killing a creature. If you successfully, you know, if they put a powerful item inside a powerful locked box, I guess you would say, or guarded it with some inanimate object that's not a monster, but like a lock or a trap that is suitably powerful to guard this item. And you overcome that. You make your rolls against, or you outthink the trap. To me, that's the same as killing a monster.
Well, see, that's the thing. I give experience points for, you know, magic items, monsters killed and or defeated. Doesn't have to be killed. Could be defeated.
Yeah.
If you defeat the creature.
What about monsters you run away from?
No.
I don't know. I might give them some XP if they're smart enough to know when to run away.
Well, maybe if they're
so many don't.
And I give for heroic deeds done, exceptional things done, and role playing. I
give out gold quite a bit in my game, so I usually scale it down for every 4 pieces is worth 1 XP point. Yeah. I like players to have money in my game so they can, you know, purchase things, because it's a game. It's supposed to be fun. You're not supposed to be a poor pauper in a game, so you're supposed to be able to buy some stuff and survive a little bit.
Right.
Give them a little jingle for their pocket.
Well, yeah. I'm not saying I'm stingy with any.
Actually, I am stingy with gold.
But for monetary treasure, but as far as like, I just does not translate in my brain how experience point equals to 1 gold piece.
And for me,
that's because you're associating the experience point to the gold piece. I'm associating, and I think the caller is associating, or the poster is associating the experience point not to the gold piece, but to the action that got you the gold.
Well, then award it for the action, not for the gold.
Right, and that's what I'm saying
That's what I'm doing.
I think that's what he's saying he does.
And that's fine, but it's not really for the gold pieces.
Right.
It's basically, you're using a gold standard to award experience points for doing extraordinary deeds, heroic deeds, and role-playing.
They did the gold for XP because the experience points for a lot of the monsters are so low. It was supposed to counteract and also help you level up. I
tend to get around that one by I simply give them more XP for the creature. if I think the XP amount is low for that particular creature.
I guess it's the same way. I guess I understand what he's saying now, that he's using the amount of gold pieces equivalent to experience points for those things that were done other than the standard kill monster, get experience points.
No, he's basically saying if he's given gold for XP for things that you've done, not for just simply stumbling into gold.
Right.
That's all.
Right.
So you could actually have a box filled, with thousands of GP. Now, as I handle that, if that box is unlocked and all you had to do was open the box and it wasn't
trapped, you going to get 5,000 experience points for that gold?
I wouldn't give them 5,000 experience points.
Well, then there we are. That would be. That's why I don't go for experience points.
But based on his situation, if I had a character that had a background that he was a poor person that begged in the street and he found a gold piece, I would give him the experience for that.
I wouldn't. Tough.
No, I would.
Depending on how he found it. If he was a poor person who heard rumor that that there was a rich dude around, who lived around the corner, and he thought it out and he figured out how to get into that guy's house and then basically
that's always fun.
Get some gold, sure. But if he just happened to the guy walked by and felt bad for him and gave him 1,000 gold pieces, I wouldn't really give him any.
Not that. No. But yeah, it's something that we can go back into and do a whole show on gold for XP, because there's a lot to discuss about that.
Mm-hmm. It's a contentious topic, too.
Yeah, and so now with Chad here, we can get a different point of view of what happened, so.
Even though he's wrong.
You can get the wrong point of view.
Act now. Thank you, Ed.
Counteracted by the right point of view.
Which is mine.
Not. Anyway.
I'm just pulling your leg.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Ed. Our last email comes from Ashley. He was part of my gaming group local here in Texas, so he played the obnoxious magic user we had in that group that I was telling you about, Spindle Shanks. Anyway, great issue this past week on magic users. I have been DMing more than playing lately, but it's always good to see magic users get some press. On another note, love to listen while I drink my coffee at the local barista. I got many odd looks during the D&D cartoon segment when I shouted out in agreement, "Yeah, bunk Uni! Uni is the Wesley Crusher of D&D." I don't know anybody that liked Uni. Do you know anyone? Anybody? No.
Yeah, I just wanted to see. I've always wanted to see Bobby the Barbarian just go berserk and kill Uni by accident.
I wanted to see Uni get killed by Venger and put her on a spit and over a fire and eat her. But that's just me.
I mean, I know Uni was supposed to be some sort of comic relief, but it was just retarded relief. I'm sorry.
It's not even comic relief. It was just.
Yeah, it was their attempt to throw My Little Pony into the mix.
Yeah. Yeah, Uni is the Will Wheaton of D&D. I'm going to change that up a bit.
Wheaton! Oh.
Yeah.
I still want to see Bobby the Barbarian go berserk, though, and start taking out his comrades.
I still dig the show overall. I have a little nostalgia for it.
Oh, yeah. There's nostalgia to it. I still like that show.
It reminds me of back when I was a kid, flipping through the channels, first finding that show and saying, "Oh, cool," and then trying to find it every other week when it wasn't on.
Mm.
And
I thought it was cool they had a skeletal warrior in one episode.
They had incorporated a lot of Fiend Folio monsters in that show. The Bullywugs, Shadow Demon.
They did too much of the Bullywugs, in my opinion, but they got, maybe one episode, but they were in every episode.
I never understood, why did the Cavalier only have a shield? What happened to his sword?
Because a sword would be considered offensive, and we live in a politically correct world.
Yeah, but
they kept it PC.
But he had a bow that shot.
I know
electric bolts.
But never actually really did anything to anything.
No, it bounced off everything.
Yeah.
And Bobby had a club that he crushed things with. Well, mostly just crushed himself.
The warrior shot the food.
Yeah, and Bobby never actually effectively used that club against another living object.
I think he did Tiamat, though. Didn't he one time hit Tiamat with it?
Yeah, he might have right the twig and berries one time.
Yeah, he hit a god with, a demon with a little club +1, probably.
Oh, and they had a shadow demon in it.
Yes.
That's what I said. Shadow demon, Bullywugs, skeleton warrior, what else? Oh, Lolth is out of Fiend Folio. Lolth was in there.
They treated her like an encounter.
I know. I'm like, she's down a dark alley?
Yeah, she's just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
Chilling.
Did we
ever do a full episode on that cartoon or no?
I'm just waiting.
Fun.
That would be good because I could just imagine Vendor saying, "Hey, Lolth, wait here, just back here. This is going to scare the heck out of these kids. Watch this."
I just figured she was kind of broke, and so she'd taken up a job as a prostitute.
Okay.
We're getting a really weird area. Moving on.
Okay.
So yeah, F Uni. There we go.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Ash. And that does wrap up the Sage Advice segment. If you want to send us an email, rfistaff@gmail.com, or go to one of the various sites that I said at the beginning of the segment, or 570-865-4210, the hotline. Let's head into some table manners.
Typical. Of all the evil creatures in the world, I'd like to find one with table manners.
What, are you kidding me? I spent years cultivating the worst table manners on the planet.
Table manners.
All right, here we are in Table Manners, and kind of going with our holiday special theme.
Dun, dun,
We're
dun.
going to talk about elves.
Oh, I thought we were talking about tacos.
How's that have anything to do with Christmas?
Maybe it's Cinco de Cuatro, if you've ever seen.
The Christmas taco?
If you've ever seen Arrested Development, Cinco de
Is
Cuatro.
it anything like the Christmas poo?
Yes, actually it is. Mr. Hanky.
Because if you go to Taco Bell...
Idaho.
And the Christmas poo will show up later. Anyway, we're going to talk about elves, kind of dealing with the whole holiday theme here. And
But...
Wait, are these the kind of elves that help Santa make toys?
You know, that totally...
Not quite.
That totally sounded like a bad commercial line, Chad.
These
But
are
tell me more.
These are actually the Grugash elves, or the wild elves from World of Greyhawk.
I want to jump in right away and just say I really like this. I really, really like this race and the breakdown that they had for it.
I did too. To get started, it was from Dragon Magazine, issue 155, kind of on the cusp in between first and second edition. So there was still a little bit of mishmash between first and second edition going on in Dragon Magazine. So a lot of the articles can be interchanged and used between the two editions. I really didn't see anything in the article that really clued me in too much that it was second edition or not. But, you could port it to first edition with no problem. But
Oh, yeah, easily.
Yeah,
I thought this was
they
a
did a
great
good
article.
job. You could keep it pretty much the first edition. And the article on the Grugach, which of course are the wild elves, written in issue 155 by Roger Moore, who's written a lot of great stuff for Dragon. He does a good job of pinning it down.
About the Grugash.
What?
Eric Open did the Grugash.
Yes, correct.
Was that Eric Open?
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I'm looking at...
You're looking at
You're
issue
looking
60.
at Elfish.
Oh, you know what? I was looking at a note I had from issue 60, which is also focused on elves and is purely first edition.
Yes, but we're talking about the Grugash right now.
Right, and you're
your
correct.
notes
That
straight.
was Eric Open, and that was 155.
There you go.
So a quick rundown. Think of the Native American tribe when the white man came and took everything away from them, so he hated everybody, and now that's where we're standing at. Think of them that way. They're wild elves that just hate everybody except themselves.
Yeah, I kind of got that Native American vibe from them as well.
Yeah.
That each tribe or clan as well, it was around 50 members per tribe. And like in the the Monster Manual 2 that they were in, they can't be magic users. They could be fighters.
Yeah, something to do with their brain, and there's some type of chemical in their brain that won't allow them.
That's what sages think, that there's something with their brains, how their makeup is they can't harness arcane magic.
No, Nick.
Although they can be druids.
They
can use druidic magic.
When I was one part I remember reading, and I was looking at it. Did they say that the high ups, the people that lead the tribe, were they actually elves or were they just druids? Because that's
they're elven
confused.
druids.
They are elven druids.
Okay, because I wasn't sure because they kind of said they were just druids. They didn't say part of the tribe or not. From
what I got from the structure of each tribe or clan is you you're mostly based around 50 or some odd people in the clans, and it sounds like also the clans they do intermingle somewhat. Some people go from one clan to another, maybe because being an outcast, who knows, or maybe clans intermarry.
No outcasts, you wouldn't be going to another clan or tribe.
There is a way, like what Nick was saying. You could, they're extremely xenophobic, but
even of other clans,
right? But you could move if you were Grugach or Wild Elf. You could move and join another clan, but it would be through marriage, and at that point, there's no going back.
And what I got from it is, you have Wild Elves who are fighters. There are some fighter thieves who are kind of like these. They sometimes act as scouts, but they're the ones who set the traps for coming into their tribal areas. I saw
exactly. They act as assassins and scouts, and if you steal from the Grugach, you will probably be facing one of these guys.
They will hunt you down and kill you.
Oh yeah, and what's interesting too that you mentioned the traps, because Grugach have some fundamental differences with the other elves. We've already mentioned the fact that they don't cast magic as magic users, which is almost unheard of with elves. But
they can use divine magic, hence the druidic.
They can use druidic magic, and they get a few other bonuses to compensate. They create traps that are 90% efficient.
Yeah.
They
do 2d6 damage per level of the creator of the trap, which is pretty darn good.
And, in the vein of we were talking about how they are kind of like Native Americans, and that's certainly how they're viewed by the other elven clans, or strains, I should actually say. They're the backwater relatives, and like that, they're very proud and very mistrustful of their other elven types, and they have tribe names that they're reminiscent of the American Indian too. Like they could be the Purple Eagle tribe, or they could be the Orc Skull Forest tribe. So they have a totem that they center their. I don't know if the totem's centered around the tribe name. Obviously, I would think the tribe name centers their name around the totem of the tribe, but they have a totem. They're semi-nomadic, like many of the American Indian tribes. They move around the forest. They may inhabit one forest, but they move around depending on the season, and they don't get an easygoing, laissez-faire lifestyle like many of the other elves do as they grow up. These guys work from day one to keep the tribe together.
Yeah.
I also, as far as like getting if you want to use a analogy, like we were talking about Native Americans, particularly, I would say their most closest analogy would be to not Plains Indians, but Indians of the Northeast of the United States. You're talking Mohican.
Yeah, or the Mashantucket Pequots, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was thinking more Apache every time I was reading them, to be honest.
Maybe Apache, but
I could totally see Mohican.
But I just think I just kind of, because of being a woodland environment that they live in, and if you look at Northeast United States, particularly around the Great Lakes and in New England area, that's heavily wooded. So I'm kind of thinking those sorts of tribes might be
the only reason I'm going to disagree with you, Nick, about the Mohegan tribe. The Mashantucket Pequots I will agree with, but the Mohegan tribe, no, because being a person that worked for that casino and that whole tribe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I worked for that tribe for over 5 years. They trusted other people, and they got their weaponry, their food and everything from the white man. So, and they actually became good friends with the white man. So, no.
Okay.
The Mashantucket Pequots, different story. They were the ones that trusted nobody.
All right.
What was the Indian tribe down around the Florida Everglades they were
the Seminole. No,
Seminole.
That's who I would probably be closest to, Seminoles.
Yeah.
Because they could disappear in their forest and be very hard to find. And by the way, I'd like to correct one thing I just said. I was confusing the another extremely xenophobic group of elves, the snow elves, also found in issue 155 and detailed by David S. Raymer. They're the ones who have the 90% effective trap building skill. But I could totally see the Grugach as being, very similar, and it'd make perfect sense if you wanted to give the Grugach a similar ability.
Well, if you read that description, it did say that most of them, by the time they go out adventuring, have been brought into the no traps so well that they'd have a step above just about any good thief in the field, and most of them are employed by guilds as the trap master to teach others to oversee things. So.
But now you bring up another interesting point, because if you do find one that is living outside of Grugach society and employing their thieving abilities in mainstream society, then these are almost 100% of the time, I'd have to say 99% of the time, you're talking about somebody who has been exiled from their own tribe because they're thieves, and not the kind of thieves that have been trained to protect the Grugach tribe's interests, but they're just thieves, and Grugach hate thieves. They hate them a lot.
Yeah, they do, but a lot of them tend to go that way.
Yeah, well, and again, it comes down to, are they doing it for the tribe, or are they stealing from the tribe?
Yeah, and I also noticed that being also fighters, they don't consider themselves warriors, but more so hunters.
Yeah.
Only killing when they have to or necessary, so they're more... I don't know, they just felt like a really big ranger-type class. Perfect ranger-type class.
Yeah.
And
at the top would be your druids.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely seem to hold the highest rank within the society.
And what I found interesting in the article about that was, even if you're working with level limits, they look upon even the Grugach. They only could go so far as druid, so they look upon other druids from other races, either be human or, I guess, if you're using Arcana, Elven or what have you, if they can go higher level than them, than the Grugach, they look at them as, I don't know, with awe, but with respect.
Yes, respect, yeah.
So.
So if you were to meet a group of these guys and you had a druid in the party, it'd probably be best to let him do the talking.
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially if there's humans and dwarves, as they don't really trust them because they feel all the dwarves are out to cheat them just as well.
Mm-hmm. And they don't like gnomes at all.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Definitely.
They actually had a. I think there was a saying, wasn't where they were talking about the only you never trust an elf because they'll always steal from you.
Yeah. See,
like they distance themselves from their own race.
They say dwarves say the Grugach at least understand dignity, but the gnomes wouldn't know dignity if it came up and bit them.
Yeah, and wasn't there one was the only human who didn't try to steal from you was one who had burned his hand?
Yeah, where is it? It said about humans. There was an honest human once. If an object was red hot, out of reach, and fastened down, he wouldn't steal it.
Yeah.
Sums it up right there.
It seems like
pretty much
only the halflings are the ones they kind of get along with.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Mm-hmm. And it's not much respect, but but they mostly mistake them for small children, they said.
Mm-hmm.
Small human children, I should say.
Right, and they're the Grugach are the shortest and smallest of all the elves, and they're actually they look at this, as not as a weakness, but they see that as a strength, because this is a group that does survive by being able to just disappear within the forest, and being hunters. This helps them because they can slip much more easily through the dense forests that they inhabit. Because if you're going to find Grugach, you're not just going to go to any forest. You're going to go to fairly dark forest. It's not like a little. The closest thing I could envision it to being in literature would be in the Hobbit when you see Mirkwood, which has kind of a sinister reputation. They would be in that kind of a forest that had a bit of a sinister reputation.
I also thought one of the best parts of the article was, you talk about all these different things about the Grugoch, the Wild Elves, and you're like, well, why would you want to play one? Well, right at the very end, there's several good paragraphs on how to role play one of these Wild Elves in a campaign with another group. And the examples they give, maybe chances are your character, if you're playing a Wild Elf, he is an exile from a tribe. So he maybe is an exile. Or another reason that he said maybe the tribe, for some reason he is a part of, maybe is gone. Maybe they got wiped out by a plague, through war, or something else. So maybe he's the last survivor of his tribe. So
and I'd go so far as to even say a third option, being that what if somebody stole from his tribe, or they took something very valuable from the tribe, and the Grugoch are very poor. They are the poorest of the elves, hence they are so defensive in dealings with their other kindred. But what they do have, they have to work very hard to get. And what they do have, they will, if you steal from a Grugoch, they will try to find you.
And that kind of goes into the third thing, is maybe you're on a quest for the tribe. They get back that maybe it was a tribal totem that was stolen, and you are on the quest to get that tribe totem back. Or if it's, either with, from the druids in the tribe, or and they also talk about like there's secret societies within the tribe and various other tribes. And you might be on a quest for that secret society too, to recover something.
Yeah, I could totally see that. These would be very logical reasons why you could actually have a Grugoch playing within your party. Now, I don't know how good it would make for a long-term character. If I were running the game and you had achieved your goal, I think a lot of it would come down to having to take a look at the character interactions during the course of the adventure, because the predictable outcome would be you retrieve your totem and you tell the party goodbye, and you go back to your tribe. And hope that they don't start to ostracize you as thinking that you become too much, tainted by the outsiders.
You're an outlander now.
Exactly. And that brings up another interesting topic.
Outlander!
Well, they do, though. They see the Grugoch have a very simplistic way of looking at the world. There are those within their tribe, and there are all the rest.
Yeah.
So if you're not of their tribe, you're an outsider, and therefore you're, and they don't really differentiate beyond that.
Well, it's respect the tribe first, respect the other elves that are like them, that there are other tribes around you, then maybe regular elves and everybody else.
Yeah, I would look at it even as this. Respect your tribe first, tolerate the other tribes, and everybody else is on their own.
You gotta respect the family.
They do hold elves a tiny bit higher than the rest, regular elves. A tiny bit. That's what I got from it, at least.
Yeah, I got it from it that they actually
like a bunch of mafia bosses on them, like, you disrespected the tribe. I can't let you back in. I'm sorry.
I see it, though, as and probably would be my treatment of them, that they view the other elves as no better than humans. If anything, they might even be a little bit more hold a little bit more animosity towards the other elves, because they're not just the poorest of the elves. They know they're the poorest of the elves, and they see the other elves. They're always looking for an insult. They're always looking for that, for that high-handed attitude from their kindred, and because of this, they really don't like the other elves because they think that they think they get treated, with the high hat. They people, who maybe know they're weak in one area, or you think about, like the poor relatives in your family who are always looking for they always think they're being disrespected, because of their station by the rest of the family. This is the Grugach. They look at the rest of the elves as treating them badly.
Maybe there was something in the past when the elves were created, and maybe it had something to do with the drow as well.
Jealousy. That's what it all boils down. Jealousy. That's all what it boils down to.
Just jealousy.
Yeah, they're jealous.
Yeah, I would have to say that.
It's one of those, hidden jealousy things that they don't want to admit, and it just became anger and hate over the years.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah, just think about it. They can't cast spells. They're not treated the same. Well, what does it become? Jealousy becomes hate. They don't
have the abilities, the knowledge that many of the other elves have. They're looked upon as the poor, backwoods relatives. And I don't know if they hate the other, I don't know if they hate their kindred, but they definitely feel like they've been slighted.
It's a slippery slope where jealousy becomes anger, becomes hate, and then that leads to the dark side.
There you go. Thank you, Yoda.
That's right.
You're welcome. Had to throw that in there.
There you have it.
They really are a neat branch, though, of the elves, because they are so different from the other.
I don't know about the little suggestion they had, like the last paragraph blurb where it said maybe you can do a whole campaign based around the whole group playing that tribe or something. I don't know how well that would work.
A long-term campaign so long as everybody was within the tribe and you didn't mind keeping the campaign centric.
It'd be kind of boring. I thought. I was thinking. I think
you'd eventually run out of things to do.
Yeah.
But perhaps you could do something with that,
Maybe a side campaign when players don't show up. You have the other 2-3 players make up side characters in the same world and do some things. Could be an idea.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And only use them when, say, like players don't show up. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, you could do something like that. I'm trying to think if there are any other. Well, this is interesting too. Now, one thing you could do if you have an exceptionally large forest, like I think in Tolkien, he talks about how in Middle Earth, Mirkwood is a remnant of what once was a continent-spanning forest.
Yeah.
All the way to the Shire where they had the old wood, I think they called it. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if you had, say, a campaign world where you had this massive forest that spanned huge areas of the continent, maybe a younger version of your world, which they would fit in perfectly, you could start playing up the fact that they do form vendettas against other non-Grugach tribes within their forest. And you might play that up.
Good idea.
Of course, you could also play up, if you had such a forest, it would not be a stretch of the imagination to assume that there would be connecting portions where their own rural little kingdom connected to the domains of other elves. Mm. How do you think the wood elves would get along with the Grugach? Perhaps that could be interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, but either they got along or they didn't get along. But it would provide some room for possible adventures and gaming. How would maybe their forest borders a meadow, a large open area, and there are some gray elves who live out there, and the gray elves actually have an interesting slant on the Grugach because they view them as being the closest of all the elves to the original elves.
Yeah, that's what they said in that article. It's like they're like the one closest to the core race.
Exactly, they walk closest to the gods or something like that. Which, you know, if you think about it this way, in issue 60 of Dragon Magazine, they talk about the deities of the elves, and one of the things they mention is that elves have this view that they are direct kin to Corellon Larathon, or whatever his name is.
Latharain, or whatever his name is.
Exactly. And so, if you take the logic of how the Grey Elves view the elven kinship to their god and how they view the Grugach, you know, that brings up some questions. Then, do they view the Grugach as being very, you know, very much is how they see Corellon in some ways? You know,
that's
you
interesting.
could take their logic a step further, I guess I'm saying, but and it raises some interesting questions.
It does.
If they think this,
Absolutely.
then how do they feel about that? You know. But you know, there's stuff you could do, I suppose, in a campaign wide. But you'd obviously have to have a campaign world that would support it, and having one little, you know, dark forest would severely cramp your campaign long term.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe we should wrap this up and move on to our DM rules. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea.
All right, let's head into some DM rules. And 5, 4, 3, 2.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want, but are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
So DM rules this week, I was kind of looking over things and figuring since this is our holiday special spectacular. No echo? No echoes? Come on.
Spectacular.
Spectacular.
You guys suck.
Thanks.
Why not add a winter theme to your game? I mean, it's always fun. Maybe add a couple things and make it more like the season we're in. I mean, most people are in snow-stuck environments. Why not bring that into the game? Not every day is going to be a summer warm day that they're running around half naked. So this is when you're going to actually break the crease on your wilderness survival guide, pull that off the shelf, dust it off, and use the cold and freezing rules in there to hopefully incorporate into your campaign. Now, I know we did a little segment on this a while back, but you know, we don't have to go into too many details about it because it's not a very useful book overall in my games. I don't know. Nick, you don't use it at all, do you? Very rarely.
Barely broke the spine on that,
yeah.
to be honest.
Chad, what about you?
I've used it a few times. I like the rules they give on climbing, like in mountainous areas.
Yeah.
I think there's some merit to the book there. You know, it's got some interesting rules on what it's really like to go up a mountainside encumbered. Now, and depending on the type of mountain you're moving up, you know, is it a gentle rolling hill, or is it like you know, the Himalayas? But I've used it for that, not a whole lot more.
Right. Well, yeah. Use other than that for the freezing cold rules. Also, you can, just to emphasize how cold it is outside and how the lands are, you can always make your characters have dex checks when crossing over frozen rivers or very icy hill areas, just to emphasize how bad it is outside. And then once you get out of the foresty areas and you get into town, that's a different story. You can have... Nick is showing a link for the Greyhawk calendar. Nick, you want to just jump in?
I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, good. So we'll talk about the Greyhawk calendar as well, because a lot of people use the Greyhawk campaign. But when you get into town, you can actually make the town act like a normal town you see every day. What do they do during the winter? They put up decorations. They celebrate the winter solstice. Maybe there's kids having snowball fights. Maybe their characters get involved in a snowball fight. Why not? It's fun. It's something to just, you know, out of the ordinary. Also, when they go into the tavern, Why not have everything winterized? I think maybe the food is only was caught in the winter. Maybe the ale is like a special winter brew. You know, things to just spice things up. And then also, supplies. You know, that general store owner is going to be like, oh, that blanket was normally 10, but now it's 2 gold because, high demand. Instead of being 10 silver, it's 10 gold. Sorry, I forgot to say silver. You know, there's always going to be those people trying to rip you off. Get into the spirit of the game with all this stuff. Now, Nick, you said you had some really good stuff that you found as well?
Yeah, just kind of going with that theme that we were talking about, Vince, and like on a Yuletide kind of theme, maybe to throw in your game if you're running something at this time of year or roundabouts. I did some poking around on the internet, and I found someone who did a calendar for the World of Greyhawk campaign setting, and they did all the months of the year and all the weeks and where the phases of both the moons Luna and Selene are in. And one of the things I found that might fit into a holiday kind of Christmas type theme in the World of Greyhawk are, it looks like maybe 2 holidays. And this is in the month of Sunseb. On the 23rd, there's a holiday called Merrywed, I think it's, or Mariahwed, or whatever it's called. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
I think Merrywed's right.
It's a parade of white costume followers led by a white-robed person wearing a horse's skull, singing blessings at the doors of the village, and are rewarded with treats. So I guess this is a holiday that's popular in Grand Duchy of Jeff, Sterich, the county of Ulek, and Greyhawk. So, but the other one I saw that looked really close is this last one. There's Greyhawk. Kind of give a background for everybody. It's kind of the calendar was done by Gary Gygax to be very simple. That every month had 28 days, so to be just straight up. But there's this one oddball week between Sunseb, which would be December, and Fireseek would be January. There's this 1 week that doesn't fit into really all the months of the calendar. It's called Need Feast. So Need Feast is 1 week of just partying and having fun during this winter month. The winter months between Sunseb and Fireseek, basically between December and January. And on the Need Feast, they have this thing which it begins with murmuring. People wear disguises and try to remain unrecognized in order to celebrate the wondrous and strange effect that magic and magical creatures have in the world. Nevertheless, it should be noted that actual use of magic in such disguises is considered cheating and is frowned on in most areas. There's dancing, general carousing, and the high point of the parade and the performance of the Murmurs, a play in which good and evil battle. Evil wins, but the youngest speaking child resurrects good and removes the evil from the bad actor. It is rare but not unknown for some members of evil cults to take steps at this point, and vigilance is usually tight in larger cities. So there might be actual kind of role-playing adventure opportunity there. You know? Someone might be sabotaging the play. Maybe an evil cult is. And I'm reading this from the website. This was really interesting. One exception is the Empire of Ayaz, which holds a variant play in which the evil lord fights good and wins. This is usually enacted by having priests in ceremonial masks publicly fight, defeat, and then sacrifice a lightly armed prisoner amidst general rejoicing. So there's a whole thing on that. The rest of the holiday is devoted to general merriment, and the last night before the months are again counted in calendar is very special. This is the Feast of Unreason, which is honored by many diverse faiths: Bokob, Lydia, Relishaz, Tritherion, just to name of some of the Greyhawk deities. And this is coming from the website. In general, however, the mode of celebration is the same. Servants are promoted to the head of towns, villages, and even royal courts, where they preside over the feast duration. They orchestrate silly laws, like having farmers push their carts wearing only one shoe, which must be obeyed though traditionally they are followed about by a true authority. It almost sounds like a hazing kind of thing.
Yeah.
which overrule any proclamations deemed to be disastrous. Popular everywhere, even in the Great Kingdom. It's very popular at Greyhawk Festival, colloquially known as Zagig's Feast. The Mad Archmage retains his distinction as the only actual ruler to ever be elected to preside at the festivals, and his influence could be still felt today. Mages report that their spells will occasionally misfire in odd and or humorous ways during this period. So that's pretty cool. And I guess also in this little part of the website about this Need Feast is some places it's known as the Feast of Telcher. And this holiday honors Telcher's valiant battle in creating winter and celebrates the beginnings of winter's waning. Kind of like what goes on during our Christmas season. It's like around the longest nights of the year, and a lot of, I know in mythology in the real world in Europe, particularly in England and in Scandinavia, is during that Yuletide feast there was a lot of light, candles, and the Yule log and the fire and everything was also to hope that appease the gods that the sun would come back in the spring.
Yeah. So
that's kind of like playing upon that. And in fact, it even says on this in a recital of the family tree, and they have dinner at home, giving away presents, chain lighting of candles, singing and folk dancing, and it says the goal is to make the son feel like he is missing the fun, so he'll come back before it gets too cold. So that Need Feast in the world of Greyhawk. It's 1 week of this festival.
Yeah.
Between what would be considered December and January in World of Greyhawks. There's a lot of good information here, and there's all some other stuff in this website for the calendar.
You could tie in a nice little twist with that. I was speaking before the show, Chad. We were talking about the pagan gods and how they snack on the sacrifices for humans. We were talking about that. Well, I did find that reference when I was talking about while Nick was talking about his thing. It actually was meadowsweet was used. The Vikings used it. The pagan Vikings used it.
Oh, okay.
They put meadowsweet on doors of human sacrifices, hoping to attract the pagan gods to come snack on these human sacrifices. And the purpose of that was give the sacrifice to the gods. They'll give us a mild winter and a good spring coming forward. They worshipped Old Man Winter, and hopefully Old Man Winter would be appeased by this. So anytime you saw meadowsweet on the door, that would be the sacrifice. So that kind of could make into a creepy campaign when the players come into a village or maybe a town, and they see all this weird meadowsweet. They wouldn't know it's meadowsweet, but all these weird plants on the doors of different people, and one by one these people disappear at night, and no one seems to really care about it. It could be a cool Christmas-type investigation adventure going on.
Yeah, there you go.
And I like I could totally see that.
Yeah, they don't understand it.
Yeah,
so maybe
type adventure.
So the players don't understand this, and maybe they decide that this is not right, and they go against the village, and then the villagers will go against the players. It could be a whole big thing going on.
Or you can have like the one I was talking about, where there's that play where good defeats evil, but maybe it's in the city of Greyhawk or some other city. Maybe that one of the evil cults sabotages the play, and evil actually wins. And maybe not just sabotage the play, but they do something to where the adventurers have to investigate which cult did this and why, and where are they getting out of it. So you can basically make a little adventure based around that.
You can even go as far as doing some of looking up Christmas superstitions to add that into your campaign by doing things such as people leaving their doors open after midnight on Christmas Eve to let all trapped spirits, evil spirits, out of their house and into the air. And they say things like dogs howling on Christmas Eve are fated to go mad by the end of the year. Some really good Christmas superstitions.
God, here's another good one.
Yeah.
Just popped into my head. Hogfather. Discworld. Hogfather is be awesome.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Nick?
Oh, well, there's the Discworld series of books. One of the books is called Hogfather, and it's basically the Discworld's analogy of Santa Claus, Father Christmas, and you just have to read the book. And it's like the Hogfather. He comes to the kid's house, leave presents, and the children leave him, pork meat pies and a glass of sherry. Which, if I was Hogfather, that would be awesome because I love sherry and like shepherd's pie. But anyway, that's like their world's analogy. And what happens is there is I forget who it was, but there's these auditors of the universe who want to get rid. They like run everything in like clock-like precision, and they don't like anomalies like the Hogfather in the universe because they're outside of their realm of control. So they want to do away with the Hogfather. And there's like this whole story about how they got to get the Hogfather back.
No, maybe you can incorporate also Anti-Claus too. I was just thinking about that, thinking of Christmas themes. Because we know Anti-Claus actually also known as Nimrod. We're from forget the folklore that's from. Is that Asia, maybe around there?
Yeah, Nimrod was actually he was a ruler, I thought, from Hungary.
Wasn't that? Okay.
I thought he was a Hungarian tyrant.
But he went around causing chaos and stealing children to basically fulfill his whim, and it mostly went after evil children. So, but I mean, I'm not sure how the legend. I can't think of it offhand. I'm looking for. It's actually, is it Krampus? Actually, is what it was, or Krampus?
Oh, you know what? Nimrod, I'm sorry. He was actually he was
the great-grandson of Noah. Yeah, great-grandson of Noah.
The son of Cush and the great-grandson of Noah. He was the king of Shinar, which Shinar, being Hebrew, is biblical geographical locale of uncertain boundaries in Mesopotamia. So, yeah, he comes from a long time ago.
Mesopotamia.
So what you could do, incorporating with the whole Meadow Suite, you can also have the town offering up sacrifices of children just to keep him appeased as well. And maybe not the players have to deal with that as well. Two things going on at once.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, totally. My idea of doing something with a Christmas theme was, and it kind of keeps in the line of what we were talking about earlier with elves, was I thought it'd be kind of fun to do something with Norse mythology, but perhaps dealing with the god, two of the gods actually, Frey, who is the god of the elves, or the Vanir, and then there would also be an element of, say, something to do with Balder and the mistletoe that is the only thing Balder can be killed by. And what if the party is sent on a quest to stop the agents of Loki from fashioning this mistletoe weapon to assassinate Balder? I'd have to actually sit down one weekend and really formulate this out. But I just like the idea. I've always liked the idea of the Norse elves, and for a Christmas theme, I like the idea of mistletoe, and of course that makes me think of Balder, and that brings in Loki. And when you get that mixed together, there's got to be something good that can be written that can incorporate all of that. I think that might be something interesting to do. You could turn it into a mystery type, like what you guys were mentioning earlier. You could turn it into a dungeon crawl. Perhaps they have to track down the agents of Loki, and stop their plot. And to do so, they have to go into maybe Jotunheim or the land of the giants, where Loki is, has family, because Loki was half giant. But you could do something with that. You could possibly even incorporate something maybe from Against the Giants into an adventure like that. But tying in mistletoe, the Norse gods, giants, I think there's something you could do with that.
There's a lot of good ways you can incorporate the whole winter solstice events. Another reference you can definitely mine for ideas. Remember the TV show Xena and Hercules?
Oh yeah.
They had quite a few episodes that were based around the winter solstice celebration, where they actually had the Christmas trees up and how they celebrated it in I guess that'd be the Greek mythology. So it's just something you can mine for ideas if you have access to that show. It is on Netflix, so you can always just look up those episodes, and if you can bear the TV show from 20 years ago. Because seriously, dude, I tried watching it because that used to be my favorite two shows was Xena and Hercules every, Saturday or Sunday. I went back and tried watching a couple episodes. I'm like, dude, how did I stay awake during these episodes?
I never got into those shows. I never could get in. I had a roommate who was into it, but I could never really get into it.
I like Lucy Lawless.
Or what you could do is also grab the... you can jeez, Nick. You can always grab the Hercules and Xena game by West End Games. I was going to say Wild Games Production. By West End Games. It was a horrible system, but the fluff and the actual background is a great resource tool.
Well, I know Colin actually runs that game at conventions. Yeah,
has he modified the system? Because it's just
he's gotten some good reviews, and again, I think that ties in. I think I'd mentioned this in the past. I'm a big believer that the system is, if you have a good time or a bad time in a game, obviously there's an element of the system there. But I think to a large degree, it also comes down to the person running the game. You can have a person who knows that game and can really spin it good, and then you can have a game where the guy just doesn't really know how to tell a story. You may walk away blaming the system.
I've seen those.
It just, to me, well, I don't want to get into this. That's something for Dead Game Society, so we'll just leave it at that. We'll let you do
Another
it on
topic
your show.
for you, Chad.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
We'll add to your docket for things to talk about.
Works for me.
In fact, you'll have Nick and I on both, and we'll talk about it there. How's that?
We will do
that. I know nothing of the game.
Good. Stay at that.
Yeah, I actually haven't played it myself. I just know from hearing people who have been in his game that they've enjoyed it, and I think a lot of them were rather surprised that they did.
I think it was more so because of the way he runs his games, because he runs his games really well. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, all you folks at Dead Game Society run your games very well. I mean, they're very well detailed, very well planned out. There's no, ifs, and or buts. The game's done this way. It's presented wonderfully. I mean, you guys dress up. Well, mostly Michael does. But...
Well, Michael does.
Yeah, mostly
I wore
Michael.
Fez last year to do a Doctor Who game.
But that
goes without saying. It's Doctor Who. You got to wear a Fez.
Yeah.
Doctor Who and Fezes are cool.
That's right. So are bow ties.
You know it.
But anyway, so you guys, you are well prepared. You do it, but that's why the games are so fun. I would think if you were going to play a weekly game of Hercules and Xena, you'd probably want to shoot yourself in the head.
Yeah, and for me, like I never got into those shows. So it's not a campaign I would probably enjoy just because the subject matter, it's based around a show that I never really enjoyed. But you never know. I might sit down and maybe call him to run it for me one time, and I may have a great time just because, he's running it. And he does know how to run a good game.
Yeah.
But as far as how the system is, I don't know. But I think you could definitely, I think they had Christmas episodes on that show.
They did. It'd be like Nick sitting down playing a game of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with me. You probably never watched the show, but
right. That's another show
the movie.
Nah, yeah. Unfortunately, the TV show was a lot different than the movie.
I was all about the X-Files, and the show I'm actually getting my daughter into now is Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Oh yeah!
Oh God, I forgot about that show.
That was show, man.
Kolchak, the X-Files, those were the shows that I tended to watch.
Yeah, me too. And we went off on a tangent.
Yeah, that usually happens on this show.
And that means we're probably done.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would just say, we talked a lot about the Grugach today, and we talked a lot about some great ideas for Christmas stuff, and there's a lot of other elves to read about, and a lot of ideas out there to do for your Christmas campaign.
You bet.
Yeah, so there's always the Roll Aid supplement for elves. You can pick that up for probably less than $5 on Amazon if you look it up. I don't want to kill my audio feed to do that right now. So, Nick, if you can do that real quick just to see how much it is.
Oh, for the elves supplement?
Yeah, the Roll Aid elves supplement, just so people have an idea.
The Roll Aid elves supplement was kind of interesting, too, because they the Mayfair Roll Aids, they usually put a different spin on things. And the elves supplement was no different. I like how the high elves, by traditional D&D terms, high elves are probably the most common elves.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Roll Aids supplement, they're really more, when they say high elves, they're really talking more about gray elves from D&D. And the gray elves exist in supplement too, but they seem to be more like the high elves.
I found Roll Aids elves on eBay for about $6.50.
Yeah, so there you go. $6.50 on eBay, probably similar prices on Amazon. Noble Knight, I know, sells it, but I think you'll be paying a little bit more than that.
And I also put in our show the link to that Greyhawk calendar.
Just do me a favor and email that to Matt when you have a moment.
Sure.
So he can put that in the show notes for everybody to love and enjoy.
And if you really want to tie elves with Christmas, play the Snow Elves from issue 155 of Dragon Magazine, an equally xenophobic strain of elves.
Yeah, but very tall.
Yeah, they're related to the Valley Elves, who are in turn said to be related to the Grey Elves. You could definitely do a Christmas game incorporating the Snow Elves, but you might run into, in long term, the same problems you had with doing long term with the Grugach.
Yeah, definitely. Did they ever do any stat ups just as a little silly joke for Christmas for about Christmas elves? I know they did Santa Claus, but did they ever do his elves?
Probably just leprechauns.
Just leprechauns, yeah.
You could probably substitute leprechaun stats or brownie stats or something like that.
Yeah.
You could even use, technically, the more I think about it, they're really gnomes.
Yeah, that's true. Building toys, little gnomes.
Laughing and playing hygienes.
Singing la 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 la. Oh, wait, that's Smurfs.
No, those are Smurfs.
So I guess on that note, I guess this is going to be a keep it original, keep it old school, and keep it Christmassy. Good night, everybody.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yes. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah.
Happy
see you next
holidays,
year,
Happy New Year. May your next year be full of gaming goodness.
Yes. Well said.
RFI will be back next year with new episodes, starring Chad.
Hey!
The Roll for Initiative podcast is a production of Wild Games Productions in association with D20Radio.com. You can visit us at RFIpodcast.com or contact us on our forums at osrgaming.org or even by calling us at 570-865-4210. This podcast is produced for entertainment purposes only. All other uses are prohibited. And remember, if your magic missile spell doesn't automatically hit, you're playing the wrong edition. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative.